Hi there, this is Vladimir from Mobatec. Welcome to a video help of the very first exercise of Mobatec Modeler Introduction course. Before watching this video, I suggest you to read the entire text of the exercise so that you are able to follow the video successfully. Let's start with the exercise. The exercise name is Simulation of the Small Flow Loop. By the end of this exercise, you will know how to compile and run already made models in Mobatec Modeler, how to customize flow line position and connection points, how to copy and reuse model parts. So this exercise is intended for the beginner users to learn how to use and modify already made models in Mobatec Modeler. Here we have a model description. This is a model that we will use as a starting point. We have two tanks at different elevation points. We have a pump in between, we have a bypass line, we have one source and one sink. So let's start with the actual exercise. In the section 2 of the exercise, called Things to Do, we have defined all the tasks that you should perform. Now I will perform all the tasks one by one. So let's start with the first task. Open the template model, Small Flow Loop Start Template, change its name to Small Flow Loop, and save it at a different location as a new model. So start Mobatec Modeler, go to File, and choose Example Models. Right at the bottom you should find our template model for the small flow loop. Open that model. Here it is, the model. Now we want to save this model as a different model. We need to give it a different name to different location. So we can click this icon here in the top left corner of the toolbar, or go Files, Save Model As, change the name, and change the location. Please choose some other location than example folders, as Windows may not allow you to save the model there with a different name. I chose Desktop. In the top left corner, we can see the name of our newly saved model. Let's continue. Task number 2, adjusting the property browser appearance on the screen to your preference. So here we have Property Browser and Properties tab. Property Browser has a tree-like structure with subdirectories, and if you select any subdirectory on the Properties tab, you'll be able to see the options related to that subdirectory. You can detach them or attach them, and also put Property Browser window from the right side of the Property window. You could also choose to auto-hide the browser window, so when you're not using, the browser will auto-hide, allowing you to see more of your working surface. And you have the option to auto-minimize both Property Browser and Properties tab to see even the working surface. Once hovering over them, they will appear again. My personal preference is to just have Auto Hide Browser option selected, but you can choose what you like more. Let's continue. Task number 3, compiling the model. Task number 4, running a dynamic model simulation. Task number 5, changing model parameters while running the model simulation. Now perform all these tasks. Compilation is a process of code generation where Mobatec Modeler writes the code automatically with all the model-defined equations. Once the model compilation is done successfully, you're able to run the model. In order to compile the model, press this button in the toolbar or use F12 button on your keyboard. You will find the very same button in the Basic Commands tab here. Press this button to compile the model and go to Simulation Environment. You'll get notification that your model is successfully loaded into simulation environment. You can also notice that there is no grid in simulation environment. In order to start the simulation, press Start Calculation button in your Basic Commands tab. You'll find the very same button in the toolbar as well. Press this button to start the simulation. Now the simulation is started, and you can follow the simulation time here in your Basic Commands tab. These are seconds, and you can see that the simulation is accelerated. If you have your tools minimized, you can follow the simulation time in the bottom left corner of the working surface. Now let's play with the model and change some model parameters. If we want to open the inlet valve of the tank A, you just have to press on the display of the valve. The small pop-up window will show, and you can change the value from 0 to 50. You can see tank A is now filling. If you want to close the valve, you can do the same. Now we can start the pump, but before that, let's open the valve after the pump to 50% as well. You can start and stop the pump using the same button. You can also drain tank B by opening the drain valve. You can also open the bypass valve. Now we are increasing tank A level and drain the tank B. Close all these valves same way we opened them. Let's continue. Task number 6. Stopping the simulation, changing between modeling and simulation environments. In order to stop the simulation, please click on Pause Calculation button in your Basic Commands tab, where you can find the very same button in the toolbar. You can also use F9 or space button on your keyboard. Now we have stopped the simulation at 1879 seconds. We are still in simulation environment. If you want to switch back to modeling environment, just press Mod button in the toolbar, or use F11. If you want to switch back to simulation environment, just click Sim button in the toolbar. Let's continue. Task number 7. Bending lines, moving model parts, and changing line connection points. In order to modify the model, we have to switch back to modeling environment. Now, any connection line can have as much as 5 bending points. In order to make this selection, we have to select the active point of the line, which is this point, and go to Graphics tab of the connection. In the top right corner, you can see that we can have 0, 1, 3, or 5 bending points. If we select 3, then we will have 1 bending point in front and 1 bending point before the active line, with active line making 3 bending points. If we choose 5, we will have 2 bending lines in front and 2 bending lines before the active point. Let's go back to 3 bending points, as we need 3. In order to move this bending point, just press and hold the left click and move the bending point to the place you want it to be. If you want to move more bending points or more model parts at once, just make a selection rectangle and move the entire selection. Let's do the same for the connection after the pump. Let's move it here. We will need more bending points than 1, so we will go for 3 bending points. We'll take this bending point and put it here to make it pretty. If we want to set where the connection is connected to the target or the origin object, have to select the active point of the connection, go right click and choose Set Graphical Connection Offsets. The shortcut for this is G on your keyboard. Select this option and you will get a mesh over your original target systems. Then you can just click the point where you want your connection to be connected. Right click to exit this setting and adjust the position of the connection, and that's it. You can also choose how many bending points you want for the connection if you press 1, 3, or 5 on your keyboard. Let's continue. Task number 8, the last task of this exercise, reusing existing model parts. Let's say that we want to add a spare pump between the tanks. We already have the pump model and the lines to and from the pump, so we can reuse those to add a spare pump. Only thing that we have to do is to select pump and the pump button. Note that button object is a separate object than the pump model, so you have to select it as well to copy it with the pump. And if we want to reuse the flow display of the line from the pump and the valve display, the same line, we have to select them as well, as they are also separate objects than the connection line. So hold your Control button on the keyboard and select both of them. Do right mouse click on the selection and choose Copy. Click right mouse click on the empty work surface and choose Paste Keep Connections. What this will do, as you can see, will copy the selected items, but will keep the connections origin and target point connected to the systems that were before the copying. Now we can adjust easily the position of these lines. Let's adjust the upper line first, the way we want, and let's adjust pump position the way we want as well, using the same techniques as shown in previous steps. So now we have a spare pump. Now we have to change the name of the second pump, as we cannot have two model objects with the same given name. So do a right click on the second pump, go rename, or use F2 on your keyboard. Change its name to spare, rename. Okay, there we have it. Now let's reuse the sink of the tank B to make a sink for the tank A. Just select the line and the battery limit sink, go right click on the selection, copy, again right click on the empty surface, choose paste, cut connections this time. As you can see, the connection is cut. Then place the sink where you want it. This is the connection loose end. It's the origin of the connection. In order to connect this origin to tank A, just click twice with your left mouse click and connect it where you want it. There we go. Now we can use the zoom out button, toolbar, to zoom out the model so that we can see the entire model on the screen. You can also press and hold Control button on your keyboard and use your mouse scroll button to zoom in and zoom out. Now we want to run this model. Before we can do that, we have to compile it, as we made changes to the original model. So let's compile the model. Mobatec Modeler will warn you that you already have one model compiled and whether you want to discard it. So press Yes. You'll get notification that your model was successfully loaded into the simulation environment. So let's run this model now by starting the calculations. Let's try if our added parts of the model are working. Let's open the sink for the tank A. As we can see, flow is happening and the level is dropping. So let's open the inlet towards the tank A. Let's open the valve after the spare pump. And let's start the pump to see whether the pump is working. As we can see, pump is working. Now let's stop the simulation. That was all for the first exercise of the Mobatec Modeler Introduction course. Until the next help video, stay dynamic. Bye.